While a lot of my childhood is a blur at times, my love for cars are some of my earliest memories. In a way, they've kind of always marked time for me. I even remember my first pullback car was a yellow VW Beetle. I was under the age of 10, and by the time I was 10 years old, I could tell my mom what kind of car was driving behind us at night just by the headlights. I remember my Civic at 17, my non-M3 E36 at 18, a 67 Malibu at 23, and I'll be honest, none of these cars were particularly great by any means, but what they did do was keep my love for cars going. And one thing I always knew is that I wanted a muscle car. I told myself as a kid that if I ever got a chance to buy one, I was going to, and I did. At 21, I bought a 2017 Mustang GT 6P. 12 miles on it and grab a blue. This car was everything to me. It showed me the connection between man and machine and just how fun a car can be. A couple years later though, my wife was pregnant and the car was gone. But it was a little too late for me. I had already been bitten by the bug. I would always feel the need to fill that void, and well, that brings me here. So yeah, I got a Fox body. This is my 1988 Mustang GT, and it ain't pretty at all. So the story behind this car is I've actually owned this car for about 3 years now. And since the time that I owned it, it's been in about the same shape as it currently sits. Actually, it was in a little bit better shape because when I bought it, it ran and drove and all the interior was inside, unlike it sits right now. So at the time of me looking for a project car, I really didn't have a big budget. So like everybody else, I got on Facebook Marketplace and I searched. I looked for anything. It didn't have to be a Mustang. Hell, it might even have to be a muscle car. I just wanted something to scratch the itch. Lo and behold, this Fox body comes up. It has disc brakes, it had a manual transmission, and it ran and drove. And even though the seller said it needed lifters, I decided to go and look at it anyway. It was within my budget. It was a muscle car with huge aftermarket support, and obviously I'm a Mustang guy too. So what more could you ask for? I just wanted something with decent bones, and this was that, or at least so I thought it was. I saw that it had some rust spots on the roof, a bunch of bad paint jobs, but that still didn't turn me off. When I got there, I checked out the strut towers. They seemed to be fine. I looked for what I thought were the torque boxes at the time, and I think that they're okay. I still actually don't know. And I caught myself looking under the car in general just to see if there were any gremlins hiding. I don't know how I didn't see what I ended up finding, but I didn't at the time, and so I decided to fork over the cash for the car. So on the trailer until my house it went, and I was a happy man. So I got it home, and about a couple days to a week later, I decided that I was going to tackle the lifter problem myself. I watched about 30 different YouTube videos, which obviously made me an expert. So surely enough, as I began to take the motor apart without tagging the bag in a single bolt, everything went wrong, and I kind of just put a pause on the lifter install for the time being. I decided to turn my attention to something that was a little easier to manage, like the interior, and that's where I found even more problems. So this car lived outside uncovered in an apartment complex, which means it got rained on a lot. And so water was getting in. And as you can imagine, when water gets into a car, things rust. So when I pulled out some of the carpet, to my surprise, there were holes in the floor. Now granted, there weren't a lot, but there was definitely a lot of rust in the floor, in the seat brackets. There was rust in the trunk, and I kind of didn't know what to do. And things were going a lot worse than I thought they would. I decided, okay, let's just try to fix some of the rust. So I took a wire brush attachment, attached it to my drill, scraped out a lot of the rust on the driver's side, and primed it over. I got this advice from some friends of mine, and it seemed to work out pretty good. So I decided to turn my attention to the passenger side, which caught the worst of the rust and even more damage than I realized. The floor is kind of dented in, the rust was really bad here, so this side was a lot worse. So at this point, my build kind of stopped. I kind of had lost all the fire that I had for this car, and I really didn't know what to do because everywhere I looked, I saw dollar signs. And don't get me wrong, I knew this would be a project. I knew this would be expensive, and I knew there were going to be challenges that were probably a little bit more than I was capable of, and I was okay with that. I just kind of wasn't expecting them to happen so fast. And honestly, this is where I want y'all help. I want y'all's knowledge, y'all's tips, tricks, anything that you can tell me that's gonna help me on this build. I'm gonna try to do everything myself and document the full process along the way. I don't have a ton of friends who are into building cars the way that I am, and a few that do are really busy. So a lot of the stuff that you see me do, I probably will be by myself. So any advice, any tips, even if it's just encouragement, I promise you it will help me so much. In the meantime, I've given myself one goal, and that's just to get the car running again by the end of summer. I still have to do the lifter install, and currently as it sits, the top end of the motor is broken down. By top end, I mean just the intake. The heads are still on. I wanted to do this in the car because I didn't really want to take the heads off or pull the motor. And let me know in the comments if you think I should pull the engine. I do have a cherry picker and an engine stand, so I can pull this engine and pull the heads off, but I kind of didn't want to get into rebuilding a complete engine because I don't know how to do things like gap piston rings and all of that stuff. If the goal is to get the car running, I feel like that would probably end up putting me back even further. Now, if you feel like that's a great option, I'm down to do it, and I'm pretty sure it'll be good content for the channel. At the end of the day, like I said, get the car running by the end of summer, enjoy with friends and family. I hope you guys stick around. I hope you guys enjoy this series. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to building my dream Fox body. Until then, I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.